Certainly, I mean, this is like, it's not some sort of smokescreen or big ruse or anything, right? I mean, they might as well start writing the name down on the card, barring something weird that happens with the physical next week. They seem to love Caleb Williams, and I don't think they're just trying to dupe other teams. That's going to be the pick, right?
I mean, it feels like that, and I don't know why they would go speak about him in such glowing terms if they weren't sure. You know what I mean? That does them no good if they were just doing this for smokescreen or doing this to, I don't know. There's literally no rhyme or reason to why they would do that. He was the only prospect anybody talked about that was there from the Bears by name publicly at owners' meetings, and that leads you to believe that they're confident. I mean, they wouldn't have traded Justin Fields 2 weeks ago had they been overly concerned about anything with Caleb Williams. I think that's the big takeaway that I had in talking to Ryan Poles and talking to Matt Eberflus and even Kevin Warren and George McCaskey to a degree, despite the fact that they're not the ones ultimately making that happen. It is Poles and Eberflus, but it's everybody's kind of saying the same thing and toting the same line right now about the prospect who the Bears got to spend a lot of time with out in Southern, in LA last week when they were at USC's Pro Day. And then on top of that, now it's getting him in for the 30 visit. And they've already started teaching him the offense. Mm-hmm. That's not that wouldn't happen with other prospects, but they're doing that to test his recall, to test his ability to relay that information, to take it in and then spit it back at the coaches. And I get the vibe that they feel good right now. I think it's pretty obvious publicly speaking, but from where the team is right now in talking with people inside that building, there's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of excitement. It doesn't feel like the red flags that we might have been concerned about. And certainly they've got their information that, they're privy to, that others might not be privy to, that helps them ultimately make a sound decision that they can go off of. But yeah, we're going to have to wait the 10 minutes because you know how the NFL works. You know how ESPN and NFL Network want to milk that thing for as much as they can. And even though it's going to feel pretty obvious, barring something, cataclysmic happening over the next 4 weeks, he's going to be in Chicago that Friday after the draft for his introductory press conference.
There's been a lot of hoopla out there about 4 quarterbacks going into top 8 now that J.J. McCarthy has got some momentum going, which almost guarantees that a wide receiver will be sitting there at 9. What is the inclination of the Chicago Bears? Is it receiver? Is it pass rusher? Or is it let's move down a little bit and see what else we can get?
I do think that if they can move back, they will, because they have 4 draft picks right now. Of course, if there's somebody there that they're absolutely head over heels with, if the board falls away where Rome Odunze or, Joe Alt might be there, some wide receiver or offensive tackle, maybe they go that direction. But we know how Ryan Poles likes to handle the draft, and they don't have a lot of draft capital at the moment. So if that opportunity presented itself, I could see that happening. But the 3 other needs, or 3 other potential picks that they could have at 9, I put it in the order of wide receiver, edge rusher, offensive tackle in terms of importance, in terms of what they need right now. Now, that's not to say that they wouldn't draft best player available there. If it goes 1 through 8 offense, and there's, they have their pick of whoever they want on defense, the top defensive player available, that's a smart move. They need another edge rusher. But when you hear Matt Eberflus talk about getting somebody who can affect the quarterback or help the quarterback, you can interpret that a number of different ways, but affecting the quarterback, it doesn't just mean getting after the quarterback. I could see that meaning somebody who can help with depth in the receiver room, somebody who can help with pass protection up front, and truly the infrastructure that they're building around the presumed number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, is all about making sure that player's insulated and has the best weapons around him in order to succeed from an early state of his career.
Been a hectic couple of weeks here, considering where we are in the NFL offseason and the calendar. But has there been much discussion between the Bears and Keenan Allen about possibly extending him? I don't know. Part of me thinks, why would he be in their long-term plans? I could see why they think he's extremely valuable for a young quarterback coming up this year. But quarterbacks over the age of 32, 33 historically don't produce very well in this league. But, how much do you think they want him to be around long term? And have they talked to him about extending that contract out?
The contract talk right now is not their main focus. And I asked Ryan Poles about this the other day, and he said that he wants to be intentional with the timing of these deals, maybe that's a sign that he wants to get something done with DJ Moore. I mean, remember, DJ's under contract through 2025 in the deal that he signed with Carolina a couple of years ago. But it's still, like, DJ produced. And, I mean, there's a difference in age and difference in what these contract extensions are going to look like because DJ's 26 and Keenan Allen's 32. But I know what they've said, and they said that, like, down the road, that'll be something that they want to deal with. They're not a Super Bowl team yet. Like, let's wait to see if they can get to the playoffs next year before you're talking about trading a 4th-round pick for the person that's going to get you over the hump. It's not like what San Francisco did. I know it's a completely different position, but giving up a 3rd for Chase Young and then letting him walk in free agency, they got him for a Super Bowl run. Now, whatever he did, that's neither here nor there in the grand scheme of things, but they didn't sign Keenan Allen, or they didn't trade for Keenan Allen expecting him to be a short-term rental. That's not what you do for a team. Of course, you want to make sure you have your quarterback surrounded by wide receivers who, maybe more to provide more depth than they had last year, but this is not a depth addition. This is a starting option opposite your number one guy right now. And if all goes well, he'll finish his career in Chicago. It's just a matter of when they want to get that deal done, knowing that he is entering the final year of that contract.
All right, good details. What's happening with the stadium, you think, ultimately here? Is this going to be lakefront? And when, I don't know, is there any sort of timeline onto when they might say, yeah, here it is, here's how we're going to pay for it, here's what the state's kicking in, and shovel goes in the ground in a month? Like, are we anywhere near that?
No. And it's still, Kevin Warren said that they're close as far as, like, revealing renderings and a video of what that area would look like and, giving an idea to the public about how much, public money is going to be required for the infrastructure, the ingress, egress, all of those things that matter. All we know right now is it's more than just an idea, and it's their focus. Because this does, in a way, follow a similar playbook to what happened in Minnesota when Arden Hills, that part of the playbook, that falling through, and then Minneapolis swooping in to get, to keep the Vikings there at the site of the old Metrodome. But this, I cannot imagine Arlington Heights now, despite the proposed tax cut that came through that the Tribune was reporting about last week. I can't imagine all of a sudden you'd be able to, like, throw a Hail Mary and it would take the Chicago Bears off of their path to stay in Chicago. Not with the way that Kevin Warren's talked about this. Like, they are focused on making it work on the museum campus. There's a lot to do there. And of course, we know with the White Sox and the partnership, rather, they didn't call it necessarily a partnership. It's more like you're not competing for the funds. They want to make both stadiums work equally as well.
Yeah.
But the rhetoric around this team right now and the stadium, it would be a terrible look if all of a sudden, after these glowing comments about the city of Chicago and a new mayoral staff being able to pick up the pieces for the last one to keep them here, if that all of a sudden didn't work out, that is it's not a good look, considering this thing is already what feels like it's already been delayed. Obviously, there's a lot of moving parts in this, but what I gathered yesterday from talking to Kevin Warren is that something will happen. They've got to take advantage of it this year, because every year that they don't have the new stadium, they're losing money. It's going to cost them more. But the Soldier Field site is their sole focus, and it's not like they're all of a sudden just going to start entertaining something with Arlington Heights, because it seems, at least from what's out there right now, the city's at least attempting to come around on some of the demands.
One more thing before we let you go. We got a long way to go before we see any sort of real competition, before they put the pads on and things like that. But is there a competition for the starting center, or is it Ryan Bates?
I think it's Ryan Bates. Everything that I've been told, that he is going to be the person going in as the starting center, and that Coleman Shelton will be depth for now, which is great. I mean, you have a guy who was a 2-year starter at the center position as your depth. That's a good position for them to be in. But they love Ryan Bates. They loved him in 2022. And they love him now, to be able to get him here and have, give up a 5th-round pick when they didn't have a lot of picks to begin with, in order to bring him in and have that position shored up before Caleb Williams gets here in a month.
All right. Anything else we should know, Courtney?
The owners' meetings, it's always a really good time to kind of take the pulse on what are people talking about in the NFL. And I just feel like with the Bears, the talk of the NFL Combine, like even though it feels so obvious here with Caleb Williams, they're still the talk of the NFL, despite the fact that at number one, they're probably turning that pick in with a couple minutes on the clock, a couple minutes into the clock because of how confident everything is aligning for Caleb to get here.